Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Shri Radha Madhav ki Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Okay, so please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 So I will share my screen for the verse. So this is Canto 1, Chapter 16, Text 23. This is the correct verse, right? So I will recite the verse.
34, Prabhu, right?
Which one is it?
34.
34? Okay. Sorry. 16.
Yeah, 34, Prabhu.
Sorry.
Yeah, this was your class earlier, 23. Mataji did that, so I think you spared.
I get confused. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Yo vai mamati bharama suravangsha ragyam Yo vai mamati bharama suravangsaragyam Akshohini shatamapanudad atmatantra Akshohini shatamapanudad atmatantra Tvam dustam anu Tvam dushtam una padamatmani paurushena Tvam dustam una padamatmani paurushena Sampadayan Yadushuramyam abhibradangam Sampadayan Yadushuramyam abhibradangam. Synonyms: Yaha, he who, vai, certainly, mama, mine, atibharam, too burdensome, asuravangsha, unbelievers, ragyam, of the kings, akshohini, one military division, shatam, hundreds of such divisions, apanudat, extirpated, atmatantra, self-sufficient, Tvam, unto you, tustam, put into difficulty, una padam, devoid of strength to stand, atmani, internal, paurushena, by dint of energy, sampadayan, for executing, yadushu, in the Yadu dynasty, ramyam, transcendently beautiful, abhibhrat, accepted, angam, body. Translation and purport by Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O personality of religion, I was greatly overburdened by the undue military phalanxes arranged by atheistic kings, and I was relieved by the grace of the personality of Godhead. Similarly, you were also in a distressed condition, weakened in your standing strength. And thus he also incarnated by his internal energy in the family of the Yadus to relieve you. Once again, O personality of religion, I was greatly overburdened by the undue military phalanxes arranged by atheistic kings, and I was relieved by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, you were also in a distressed condition, weakened in your standing strength, and thus he also incarnated by his internal energy in the family of the Yadus to relieve you. Purport: the Asuras want to enjoy a life of sense gratification, even at the cost of others' happiness. In order to fulfill this ambition, the Asuras, especially atheistic kings or state executive heads, try to equip themselves with all kinds of deadly weapons to bring about a war in a peaceful society. They have no ambition other than their personal aggrandizement, and thus Mother Earth feels overburdened by such undue increases of military strength. The increase of the Asuric population, those who follow the principles of religion become unhappy, especially the devotees or devas. In such a situation, the personality of Godhead incarnates to vanquish unwanted asuras and to re-establish the true principles of religion. This was the mission of Lord Shri Krishna, and he fulfilled it. Om Gyanam Timanandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam. So thank you everyone for joining on this morning of Saturday morning of our Srimad Bhagavatam class. So this is a very beautiful verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 16, where Mother Earth is speaking to Dharma, the bull. And the Mother Earth and Dharma, they are both pure devotees of the Lord. So it's very important to understand that in different yugas and different creations, different living entities, they take the different positions or the roles in the management of this universe, right? So in every yuga and every age, there's different demigods who take the roles or the places of those positions. So for example, in every creation, there's one Brahma, and that Brahma is not the same in every creation. A different living entity will take the post of Brahma. So these different living positions are occupied by different living entities. And in some creations, they are great devotees of the Lord. They're pure devotees of the Lord. In other creations, they are not. Because it's described that when we fall from the spiritual world, we come to the material world, all of us, the first birth that we take is as Lord Brahma. So if we've fallen from the material world and we become a Brahma, most likely we're not a pure devotee, right? This is why we fell down from the spiritual world. And so these different demigods, they are not always pure devotees of the Lord. But Srila Prabhupada has said that our Brahma, he is a pure devotee of the Lord. In this creation, our Brahma is a pure devotee of the Lord. This is why he sees the Lord, he offers prayers to the Lord. He makes some mistakes from time to time, but he's still a pure devotee of the Lord. And in the same way, in this age, Mother Earth and Dharma the bull, they are also pure devotees of the Lord. They have taken the service, they have taken the role of becoming great demigods, but actually they are pure devotees of the Lord. In that role, they are pure devotees of the Lord. Especially Mother Earth. We find that whenever there's a problem, she goes running. She goes, with great speed, she goes to the Lord for help. And Krishna appears on this planet to protect Mother Earth. So this earth is actually her body. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam is described that there's many person planets. So many planets, many devotees that take the form of a planet. The planet can also be the body of a living entity. Just like we have the soul, right? And this physical body is our body. This human form is our body. In the same way, a very divine soul will enter into a planet. And although there's so many planets, so many living entities on a planet, that particular soul is inhabiting the entire planet. Again, just like our bodies, in our own bodies, there's so many cells, right? Millions of cells are there. And when we are inhabiting this body, we are conscious of the whole body, but the individual living entities within our body that are living there, maybe worms also, it may be, bacteria or something, bad things also, they are only conscious of their particular body of a bacteria. So in the same way, we are on this planet, we are part of this planet, the grass, the trees, the other animals are all part of this planet, but we are only conscious of our body. Mother Earth is conscious of the entire planet. So this planet is actually her body. And therefore, this actually has a very powerful environmental message. Therefore, we should not pollute this world. Therefore, we should not destroy this world. Therefore, we should not mine this world, because this earth is the body of Mother Earth, who is a pure devotee of the Lord. So on one hand, this environmental movement, recycling, all these things, this is on the mode of goodness. It's not on the transcendental, on the spiritual level. But on the other hand, if we consider that Mother Earth is a pure devotee of the Lord, then respecting her body, respecting her form, is respecting the form and the body of a devotee. And we should never, therefore, become offensive towards the body of a pure devotee. And the asuras, or the demons, that's being said in this verse here in the purport. The asura demons, they are always trying to give havoc to Mother Earth. And the most fundamental way by which they do that, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning, is they are trying to exploit Mother Earth by making all of these bombs, these nuclear bombs. And when they're released, they cause such a great disturbance on the Earth planet. They overburden these military phalanxes, they overburden the Earth, and they cause such harm to the very gentle and soft body of Mother Earth. We also see that Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, they were great demons. And one of their key qualities was exactly what we are doing today. They were mining the earth for jewels and gems because they were after gold. We know that Kali enters gold, and Hiranyakashipu means gold and soft bed. So he was really after gold. He always wanted gold. So he was mining this earth so deep, so deeply he was mining this earth that the entire earth lost its stability. And therefore, we know that it fell down into the Garbhodak ocean. And the Lord had to come as Varahadev and take it out of this ocean and put it back into orbit. So in the same way today, the great demons of today's society, they're mining the earth, fracking, right? Fracking, mining for oil, so much so that we're finding such major natural calamities. We're finding this entire world, which is so beautiful, so green. It is meant to heal us. There's so many herbs on this planet. This entire world is being destroyed by these unscrupulous demons who are attacking the form, the body of Mother Earth. I just want to dwell a little bit on this point, that how caring for Mother Earth is a spiritual principle. The demoniac principle, the asuras are destroying the earth, but the devotees of the Lord, they are caring for this earth because it is a spiritual principle. And what is this spiritual principle? Mother Earth is one of the energies of the Lord. And in his pastimes, Lord Chaitanya showed that we should never disrespect the energies of the Lord. His bhakti shakti, his all of these, the Lord has innumerable energies, and these energies are part of the Lord. This is called Pancha Tattva. These are the five manifestations of the Lord. And Gadadhar Pandit, Shivas, Advaitacharya, they are all, of course, Advaitacharya is also Mahavishnu, but they are all different energies of the Lord, different aspects of the Lord. And there's the Lord and his energies. And so insulting the energy of the Lord is as good as insulting the Lord. So the devotee of the Lord will engage the energy of the Lord in the Lord's service. So we are not interested in environmental preservation for the same reasons that the materialists are interested. They're interested in it for their own sense enjoyment. They say, well, if we pollute the rivers, then we will not be able to fish in the rivers. Our fishing will go down. Or if we pollute the rivers, then we will not be able to raft. But the devotees of the Lord, they are interested in protecting the energy of the Lord so that we can engage it in the service of the Lord. And they're interested in preserving the earth so much so as needed for the service of the Lord. So also not too much. The first principle is serving the Lord and engaging the Lord's energy in the Lord's service. So Prabhupada used automobiles, Prabhupada used airplanes, Prabhupada used plastic things for the service of the Lord. At the same time, he said that the ideal life is one that is without factories, that is in harmony with nature. And he established so many farm communities to ultimately reach that goal. But in the meantime, in order to serve the Lord, he used these material facilities in the service of the Lord. So the principle is that we want to engage Krishna's energy in the service of the Lord. And we are environmentally sustaining this world for that purpose. We are taking care of the earth for that purpose. And so here, Mother Earth is saying that you too, O Dharma, the bull, who is the father, you too also must be distressed by this age of Kali. You are also distressed by this age of Kali. So this is one of the qualities of this age of Kali. That in this age, Kali is characterized by this, so to say, a demoniac mentality of not being reverential, or you could say respectful of Mother Earth and Dharma, the bull. So to be disrespectful of the earth, that is our mothers, and of Dharma, of duty, of righteousness, which is epitomized by the father. And we see in modern society that this is actually a symbol of modern society. And you'll be actually surprised that even many non-devotees, just materialist, normal people, they are writing books on this, that how the care for the elderly, for the elders in this society, how that is vanishing. And people have done studies of nursing homes, and there's actually a book that recently came out, was, are nursing homes actually just, you could say, glorified prisons? Are we putting all our elderly, the whole society, imagine a whole generation of people, are we putting them into prison houses? Why? Because once Dharma is lost, then all respect for the elderly, all respect for the parents, the basic thing of goodness, forget about Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness or transcendental devotion, but the basic principle of righteousness is being removed and destroyed. We see that in previous ages, Satyayug, Dwapar, and Treta Yuga, that how this was the exact opposite mentality. And these are the wonderful examples for us to emulate. As devotees, we can reverse this trend. We must reverse this trend. And this is why Srila Prabhupada established his temples, he established his farm communities, he established his ashrams to give shelter to the vulnerable, to give shelter to the unprotected women, to give shelter to the elderly, to give shelter to all sections, caste, creeds of society. This was his mission. And he made a place for everyone. He made a house in which the whole world can live. So we have to reverse this by following the example of these great saintly souls. We see in Treta Yuga, right, that how Lord Ramachandra showed this by his personal example. How just on the request of his father and on the saying of his envious stepmother, although she was envious and she was not worthy of respect, Lord Ramachandra respected their word. And he went to the forest for 14 years. Why? Simply to show the perfect example out of obedience towards his parents, out of obedience towards his father. He sacrificed everything and he went to the forest simply for the pursuit of Dharma. And actually, if we look at it very carefully, Lord Ramachandra did not even do this for his father or his mother, but he did it for Dharma. Because Lord Ramachandra knew that his father would not survive this ordeal, that out of separation, he would die. But still he fulfilled his Dharma, because the ultimate father is the bull, which is Dharma. And so all of us have to serve the father of Dharma. And generally that Dharma manifests, like Krishna says in the Gita, the austerities of the body are service to the parents, the mother and the father, that manifest in terms of our service to the parents, but not always. Like in the case of Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's disciples, many times Srila Prabhupada's disciples said that their parents would not let them become devotees. especially in the Western world. They were trying to deprogram them or, make them, convert them back to Christianity or whatnot. So Srila Prabhupada said that you don't have to follow your parents, because our ultimate loyalty is to Krishna and to Dharma. So in that situation, it was not an issue of personal discomfort. That was an issue of service to the Lord, service to our spiritual master and to Dharma, the ultimate Dharma, who is the Lord. But in the case of normal circumstances, Krishna is saying that the austerities of the body consist of service to the parents, to the mother and father. And then Lord Ramachandra, he showed this by his personal example. Then we find the example of Bhishma Dev in the Mahabharata. And Bhishma Dev, we see, well, he was fighting on the wrong side, this, that, but he is one of the 12 Mahajans. Bhishma Dev is no ordinary soul. He is a pure devotee of the Lord who is performing a certain pastime, and he's established as one of the Mahajans. Mahajana yena gata supanta. We're supposed to follow the Mahajans. And what was his example? That he became celibate, lifelong celibate, just for the purpose of pleasing his father. Right? Just for the pleasure of his father, he became a lifelong celibate. And now what we see in modern society, for their own happiness, young husband and wife, they will dump their parents into a nursing home. The exact opposite. They for their sense pleasure, they're putting them in a nursing home. And Bhishma Dev, for the pleasure of his father, he's sacrificing his own pleasure. That is spiritual consciousness. That is spiritual consciousness. And although service to parents is not directly Krishna consciousness necessarily, if our parents, if we're just doing it out of, if our parents are not devotees, it's goodness. It's on the platform of goodness. It's not directly Krishna consciousness, but that spirit of selflessness, that's what teaches us Krishna consciousness. Because service to Krishna is not easy thing. We think it's easy because we go to the Sunday feast and we eat nice Krishna prasad, and we think it's a very easy thing. But actual pure devotional service to Krishna means complete selflessness, which means that we will have to accept Krishna's pleasure in place of our pleasure. Something will be good for Krishna's service, but not for our happiness. And we will have to give up our happiness for the happiness of Krishna. That is spiritual consciousness. So right now we're not on that consciousness. So how do we get the training? We get the training by coming to the mode of goodness. And coming to the mode of goodness means sacrificing my own pleasure for the happiness of someone else, particularly someone who is more advanced than me. So that is selflessness. Bhishma Dev was showing the perfect example of selflessness. And due to his example, he became so powerful. Due to this service, he became so powerful that he was even able to conquer God. He was even able to conquer the Supreme Personality.
Prabhu, I muted you by mistake. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Prabhu.
So even then we can conquer God. Bhishma Dev and Parashuram, they have this war, right? This battle between them, each other. And Parashuram loses. His guru loses because he was so selfless. Bhishma Dev was not even the slightest bit of selfishness. When Draupadi is being disrobed and Bhishma Dev is silent, the reason why he is silent is because Lord Krishna, the day before, asked Bhishma Dev that you remain silent. Tomorrow, dharma will be broken. But I want the whole world to see how demoniac Duryodhana is, so you therefore remain silent. And Bhishma Dev knew that for generations to come, he would be criticized because of this. He knew that people would spite him for not speaking up and not protecting Draupadi. But he took that. Why? Because of his selflessness for the service of the Lord, his complete obedience to the Lord. And that is the quality, that is the nature of a great devotee. The devotee does not think what is good for me, but he thinks what is good for the movement, What is good for Srila Prabhupada's movement? What is good for my service to Krishna? That is what matters, not my own personal aggrandizement. And then another example, a third example that we have is of the Pandavas, of the 5 Pandavas, who were the grandchildren of Bhishma Dev, and they were very, very dear to the Lord. We see this example, right? That they were very dear to the Lord. And they were so dear to the Lord that the Lord was their personal friend and their attendant. Imagine. He was their charioteer. Krishna became the charioteer of Arjuna, and Arjuna would kick him during the battle. So in the pastime when in the pastimes of the Lord, and in previous times when the warriors would go to the battlefield, then there was not enough time, or you could say quietness, quietudeness for the warrior to tell the charioteer go left or right, because there's so much noise around you. It's a battle, to go left or right. How will the charioteer know? So Srila Prabhupada explains that the charioteer would kick, the warrior would kick the charioteer on the left side if they needed to go left, and on the right side to go on the right side. So Krishna's accepting that role was not something ordinary. He was actually doing service to his devotee. And when Arjuna needed to go left, he would kick Krishna on the left side. And when he had to go right, he would kick him on the right side. So this is how close they were. When Lord Krishna was leaving Hastinapur at the end, everything, the battle was done, and he had established the Pandavas as king. Then he was leaving. Everything was done. And then just at that time, Maharaj Yudhishthira, he comes out of his palace and he begs the Lord, he requests the Lord that please stay a little longer. You have helped us through all of this, and now everything is done, and now you're leaving, and we cannot bear your separation. So please stay a little longer. And simply out of the request of Maharaj Yudhishthira, Krishna stays there for a few more months. He stays there for a few more months. And so he was staying there just out of his affection and love for Maharaj Yudhishthira, it said. Maharaj Yudhishthira was so pure-hearted that the Lord could not say no to any request of his. He is so, Krishna had Arjuna is glorified, and Lord Krishna himself says, among the Pandavas, I am Partha. But there was a reason why the Pandavas all followed Maharaj Yudhishthira, and even Lord Krishna did, because he was, in terms of his qualities, superseded all the Pandavas. He was, his compassion and his soft-heartedness won the Lord. The Lord came by that. So when Maharaj Yudhishthira requested anything from the Lord, Krishna would never say no to it. It's a fact in the Mahabharata. The other brothers, if they did, Krishna may or may not do it. But when he asked, he would never say no to it. So these Pandavas, they're so close to the Lord. And what was their quality? What was their greatness? When Arjuna, when he comes back after winning the hand of Draupadi, he comes back home, he has the hand of Draupadi, and he comes back, then Bhima and Arjuna and Draupadi are walking back to their hermitage. And Arjuna, he thinks, today let me, play a joke with my mother, just play, say some joking words. And so when he reaches home to the hermitage, he tells his mother, who's cooking inside, he tells her, Mother, I brought some very nice charity today. I brought some charity. And to this, Queen Kunti replies, not thinking much of it. They were going begging every day. They were incognito in the forest at that time, living as saints. So she says, whatever charity you brought, you divide it amongst the 5 brothers. You divide it amongst the 5. And so Arjuna hears this. And the moment he hears this, and Bhima hears this, and Draupadi hears this, they are shocked. They are so disturbed. And we say, well, why are they so disturbed? Because that dharma, that culture was there, that once instructed, once something said by the mother, they could not say no to it. So then by that time, Yudhishthira arrives and Lord Krishna arrives, and everyone comes in a celebratory mood because Arjuna has won the hand of Draupadi, and they see that they're standing out there, their faces, their eyes down, and they think, what has happened? This is such an occasion for celebration. What has happened? So by this time, Kunti has still not arrived. She's still in the hermitage, not realized what has happened. So when Yudhishthira comes, he understands the situation, what has happened. And then he tells Arjuna, he says, this is something very difficult. This is something which we will have to reflect upon, because he says that never in our entire life did we disobey the order of our mother. And so today, how can we disobey her order? And so then Krishna arrives, and then he tells them that actually this was divinely ordained. And Draupadi in her previous life had prayed for this benediction. And the Pandavas also, due to certain reasons, had to undergo this test, or you could say this sacrifice of all 5 brothers accepting the same wife. And so therefore, they fulfill this instruction of Kunti. So the position, the platform of mother and father in the scriptures is very, very elevated. And one of these mothers is Mother Earth. So this mother that we have, Mother Earth, she is nurturing us, right? She is giving us all types of foodstuffs. She's giving us the food that we eat every single day. And so we are supposed to worship Mother Earth. We are supposed to revere her. What to speak of exploiting her? So therefore, devotees are very, very environmentally conscious. They don't like to waste anything. Srila Prabhupada had so many examples in his life, so many examples where he would, one light would be on, and he would tell his disciple, or why is this light on? Why are you destroying Krishna's energy? Why are you wasting Krishna's energy? And Prabhupada himself showed by his own example that he preferred the simple life, simple living and high thinking. And so in all of these ways, we need to emulate these great souls and try to walk the path of dharma. So in this purport, Prabhupada is saying that the asuras, they want to enjoy a life of sense gratification at the cost of others' happiness. The asuras think, I want to enjoy this. It doesn't matter who is happy, who is sad. It doesn't matter what principle of dharma I break. I will enjoy it. And for this purpose only, so many wars happen, so many battles happen, and so many conflicts happen. Because the demonic mentality is that I want to be the enjoyer. And the whole world is terrorized right now by these asuras. We see Afghanistan is a very nice example. Since decades, the poor citizens are just suffering there, simply due to the politics of the leaders. There's nothing else. At one point, America feels they need that region for their purposes, so they will go and fight and create their army there. Then they don't need it anymore, so then Russia and China, they give the military strength to their supporters. And so then their supporters become in charge. They fight again. They kill the innocent citizens and the soldiers, and they reach that goal. And what was Maharaj Parikshit's mentality? What was Maharaj Parikshit's mood? For the happiness of one Brahmana, let me give up my happiness, and I will go to the forest and die in 7 days. He did not try to retaliate. He did not try to fight. He simply sacrificed his happiness, because this is not a self-neglect, but rather the reason for this is because the devotees are actually realizing that in this self-sacrifice is the highest happiness. This leads to the highest happiness. And the verse that we didn't read today, actually, that's in the Bhagavatam, it's mentioned there, that how that that the happiness of devotional service is so exalted, it is so great, it is so pure, that that happiness cannot be measured by any material estimation. So the devotee knows that if I can just get one drop of that spiritual happiness, that happiness of serving Krishna, then all the other material happiness will not be important. All that material happiness will not be important. So therefore, the devotee does what is best for everyone's spiritual life. We were talking about the parents. So even in the case of the parents, the devotee acts in such a way that is good for the spiritual life of their parents and for their own spiritual life. How to develop our Krishna consciousness in surrender, in submission, in surrender, but also how to make everyone Krishna conscious. So it's not on an emotional, materialistic dharma level, but rather on the spiritual level, that this is what is going to give me superior happiness. So they're not accepting distress for the Lord because they like distress, but rather they are accepting this distress because it is a source of the greatest happiness. And once we realize that happiness, then there's no other happiness in this world that attracts us. There's the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in one of his commentaries on these Bhagavatam verses, he says that Krishna's pastimes are like an ocean. Krishna's activities, his qualities, his pastimes, they're like an ocean. And if we can experience even one drop of this ocean of happiness, then there's nothing in this world that will attract us. Just one drop of it. So all this type of example, this character that we find, that I described to you, Lord Ramachandra, Bhishma Dev, of the Pandavas, this cannot be done artificially. We cannot artificially come to this platform. But we can come to this platform by the practice of Krishna consciousness. When we develop the spiritual consciousness, when we become attached to Krishna, then these things will become possible for us. They'll become very easy for us on account of our spiritual consciousness. Otherwise, artificially, we cannot do this. This is a very important point, that we must develop our Krishna consciousness. When we experience the spiritual taste, the higher spiritual taste, then very easily we can give up the material taste. So that is the principle. We have to develop that spiritual taste. So everything that the devotee does, Sangsiddhir Haritoshana, everything that the devotee does is simply for the pleasure of Lord Hari. Because by serving the Lord, the devotee knows that I'll get the highest, the best happiness. By serving my senses, I will not get that happiness. By serving the senses, I will only go in this cycle of repeated birth and death. And the difference between the asuras and the devas is described very nicely in one more example, and that is of Mohini Murti and the nectar, right? The nectar pot. So the asuras and the devas, they were churning this ocean, and while churning this ocean, nectar came out. As a result of their cooperation, nectar had come out. And so as soon as it comes out, naturally the demons forget that they're supposed to share it with the devas, half and half. That was the deal. And so they run towards the nectar and they snatch it and they run away. And so then the Lord, he doesn't want the demons to drink the nectar. He wants the devotees, the devas, to drink it. So he has to devise a plan of how to get it. So he takes the form of a very beautiful woman, Mohini Murti, very immaculately beautiful woman. And he comes down with this pot of nectar. And when he comes down with this pot of, he comes down and then he goes to the asuras and he says that, is there some problem? It seems like you're fighting amongst yourselves. And then they say that, we're fighting for this nectar. And they are infatuated by Mohini Murti's beauty. So immediately their attention turns towards her. So then Mohini Murti says, oh, no problem. You give the nectar to me and I will distribute it equally, fairly. And because they are so infatuated by her beauty, they gave over the nectar to the Mohini Murti. And Mohini Murti then very easily, very quickly gave it to the Devas. And all the while, the Asuras did not even notice. And what is the moral of this story? What message do we get? That those who are attached to sense gratification, they lose nectar. Those who are attached to sense gratification, they are the Asuras. And what do they lose? They lose the nectar. They lose immortality. And nectar, which can mean happiness, immortality, all of these things. But those who are the Devas or the godly souls, who are not attracted to sense gratification, but are attracted to the Lord, they achieve the nectar. They achieve the true happiness, the true nectar, the true bliss. And so this age of Kali is very bad. It's very unfortunate. Mother Earth is telling Dharma that you must be very distressed because no one is following Dharma in this age of Kali. So we should expect very terrible things to happen in this age of Kali. It's a very unfortunate age. Nothing will be perfect. Nothing will be nice. Nothing will be good. But we must try to follow the path of Dharma. As devotees of the Lord, we should follow the example of the great devotees and give Mother Earth a break. Help Mother Earth, help in the mission of the Lord. And what was the mission of the Lord? The mission of the Lord was to relieve Mother Earth and to help Dharma the bull. And so we also should do this by trying to preach Krishna consciousness and by practicing it ourselves also. We should give her great happiness, because Mother Earth gets great happiness when the footprints of the Lord are on her soil. She mentions this actually. It's like a cooling effect. And also when the footprints of the devotees are on her soil. So if we become nice devotees of the Lord, we will actually give happiness to Mother Earth by walking on her. If we make others devotees of the Lord, then we will give her great happiness. So I'll stop here and we can open it up for discussion.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for a wonderful class. The comparing and the scriptures and what is happening today. One quick question, Prabhu. I had this doubt earlier. In when the earlier ages, when a person gives a word, right, or does something, does they not generally take it back? I mean, from the sense, I mean, of course, this is the extreme example of Mother Kunti telling that. But I mean, there could be a lot of other examples also. We are seeing even sometimes the curses also, right? I mean,
Yes.
is it, how does that is it to be, Prabhu? Maybe if you can just elaborate a little bit more. So I'm not talking about from the person who is receiving it, from the person who is giving that. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Now that is a nice question. That is a nice point. That happens sometimes. That happens sometimes when the devotee or the person receiving that word or that curse begs for forgiveness or begs for a change in that decision. And so therefore the great soul will become very merciful and will take that back. But in the case of Arjuna, he was such a great soul that he did not ask for it to be changed, you see. So generally it is due to, a desire, a will of the person, their lack of strength to fulfill it, to fulfill that instruction, that they say, oh, please give me a different instruction. Like in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, right? In the case of Dhruva Maharaj, he could not fulfill Narad Muni's instruction to go back home and just be unaffected. Just, live in harmony. He cannot fulfill that instruction. So he begs Narada, please give me a different instruction because I'm not on that level of goodness. So Narada Muni tells him, you go to the forest and you perform great austerities, and by that you will see the Lord, and through that method your heart will be purified. And after that, then Dhruva Maharaj has no problem. He goes back home and he has no problem being completely humble and tolerant. But it takes him that route. In the case of Arjuna, this was not the case. He was already a perfect devotee of the Lord. So therefore, he had no reason, he had no desire to have or request a change in that, word. And so he very gladly accepted it. In the same way, Maharaj Parikshit is another example, that Maharaj Parikshit could have gone back to the Brahman boy and said, please, modify this. I don't want to die in 7 days. He could have gone back and spoken to the father of Shringi, that, he could, do something countering that. Even Maharaj Parikshit himself had the power, on account of his being a pure devotee, he had the power to counteract that offense and to, in return, curse the Brahman boy. He had both powers, yet he did not do so. Why? Because he had no need to do so. He had no desire to live in the material world. He thought, this is wonderful. I can now go back to the spiritual world, back to Krishna's abode. Why do I need a long life? This long life is a burden. Same thing with the pure devotees, like a wife. The wife is not for sense enjoyment. The wife is only for the service of the Lord. So what does it matter if his brothers also marry the same wife? So their consciousness was so elevated, they did not need that change in the curse, right? They accepted it because it was what was ordained.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna, this is Kanakabjadas.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dhanvat Pranam.
So nice to hear you, Mike. I'm so happy you said about Bhishma Deva, so nice. He was, his role was really exceptional.
Yeah.
So my question, there are two questions. Like, see, was Krishna present when Vastraharan was going on of Draupadi?
So Krishna was not physically present there.
Physically, yeah, I know.
Yes,
he was not physically present, yeah, but he was from the absent, he was supplying the clothes and all that, but he was not physically present, I am sure. But in this case, can you believe which guru can tolerate in front of the in front of such an exalted soul Mahajana like Bhishma Deva, and this kind of nuisance going on? And all these crazy people are pulling out trying to make her naked. Can you believe who can tolerate? Yeah, and where Vishnu alone can finish all these miscreants, but he did not do so. How much tolerance he must be having in that stage? It is just shivering, it's like shivering the whole body. Like, oh my gosh, how strong, determined, and very strange, strong, so much strength, spiritual strength. This. Oh my gosh, cannot believe. Normal person cannot do this.
Yes. No, it's a
one
fact.
must learn. We must learn from this lesson that we must tolerate. Unless we tolerate in this spiritual life, we cannot advance. That is a very important part. Anyway, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and realization.
Yes, thank you for reminding us of this point, actually. Srila Prabhupada, in one place, he said that the greatness of a person can be known by how much they can tolerate.
Yeah, that is excellent.
And that's why Bhishma Dev was the greatest person, because he, in all respects, in many different situations, he had an extreme power to tolerate. Like even when he's lying on the bed of arrows, the arrows are through his body, but he could tolerate the pain. In the same way, to fulfill the instruction of the Lord, he could tolerate that scene that you're saying. He could tolerate that. And on the other hand, we see the example of Dronacharya, that how he's such a great sage, but he does not speak up. Why? Not because Krishna came before and told him, you remain silent. He does not speak up because of bad association. And although he is such a great sage, but bad association is so bad that it could even affect him. He became subtly contaminated, and therefore he thought, well, no, this is dharma. Now they're slaves. What is the problem? This is dharma. And Kripacharya as well. And that was because they're eating the prasad from a demoniac person.
Yeah.
So, and that is Duryodhana, and also associating with them. They started living in the palace. They became too familiar with the demoniac people, and started accepting their service. With devotees, we have to be very careful about this.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I had a point in terms of when you said about tolerating.
Mm.
It's a very, very nice point. And I also, toleration also means forgiveness, because sometimes we think, oh, I can be the, I can be the martyr and just tolerate, But Prabhupada said that it also means forgiveness, just like Parikshit Maharaj, he not only tolerated the curse, but he also forgave. He was able to forgive. I just wanted to make that point.
Very nice point. Thank you. Yeah, actually, that is very true. That tolerance, humility, it's all about forgiveness.
Yeah.
Because the essence of humility is actually realizing that I am, I'm very, what is my position? I'm not. I'm actually very. I'm very small. My position is not very important, and so therefore it's very easy for that devotee to forgive, because the devotee feels there's no great offense. You see, like someone who's very wealthy and very, big man, all these things, they have a big ego, and you tell them anything, is, oh, such a big, how dare you, and you said this and this and this. Why? Because they feel they're so important, so it's very hard for them to forgive anything that is done to them. But the devotee feels that I deserve to be disrespected. I deserve to be mistreated. I deserve to be chastised. I deserve to be corrected. And therefore, if this is coming to me, this is what's supposed to happen. And so therefore, the devotee can forgive very easily. So this point of, actually, the essence of humility and tolerance is forgiveness. Yes. Any other final comments, questions? Okay, so it's 8:30. I think we'll stop here. Thank you very much for your very kind attention. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada.